Today I want to take you to Gamasutra, which is our website, and it's been around for 25 years now, for more than 25 years actually, and it has always been historically in the case supporting the game developers community, usually supporting community, stay in touch, stay engaged from a business perspective throughout the year, and not only limited towards the events, GDC events as mentioned that we run as well. And especially for obvious reasons in the last year, there has been a change where, of course, as we all know, the in-person events have not been taking place, and unfortunately for the next few months will also not be taking place. They go all virtual. So there was a big demand, and that's what I want to kind of like outline why I think it's a great opportunity now to also look at options in the online and the virtual world to engage with the community, because you guys still develop great products, you have like great games, you have great stories to tell. You still need to get those messages out, and you still want to partner up, find new opportunities for partnerships, find new tools, or want to present tools. And that is pretty much what Gamasutra can currently help you out with. What we did when like looking at the new products and offerings at Gamasutra was, what are companies looking for when attending in-person events, which is usually it's either brand awareness, lead generation, or position themselves as a thought leader in the field. And within the next couple of slides, I want to walk you through, give you some information on the audience profile, on what Gamasutra is, how we attract the audience, how we drive traffic to the website, and then of course show you some opportunities on that are meeting your goals and serving the needs that you want to transport. So as mentioned, Gamasutra has been around like for close to 25 years now. We have like an editorial team that is constantly taking care of the new content going on, publishing news, keeping the community engaged, keeping the users coming back to our websites. And it's all about gaming. And that is because we get like quite a few questions if it's also about like the gambling side, which we obviously don't do. It is, if you want to look at Gamasutra, it is your virtual platform. It is your virtual GDC, let's put it that way, if you want to look at the audience. And also, just to add some, as you probably know, who already attended GDC events, we always do a survey, and we always have like a question which information sources they are using, and we have like a very big overlap with more than 72% of our GDC users say that they're frequent Gamasutra readers as well. So there's a good opportunity if as unfortunately we're not be able or not having like a Yuki in-person booth, as there's no in-person event at GDC 2021. But if you still want to engage with the community there, talk to the people, you will find them on Gamasutra. Nick, is there anything you want to add at this point?
No, I mean, I think that's a great way to segment it into, which is in general, I think when you look at Gamasutra, we are a news site in many ways that is really trying to cover all things related to the development of games. So we cross all different business disciplines that all sort of go into the creation of games, and really try to serve as a touch point of news and updated information. So, you know, I think as Luke said, as we'll dive into the audience in the next slide, I mean, that one of the more compelling things with Gamasutra in general is the fact that there is a high overlap with our GDC audience. It is, to some degree, the naming of Gamasutra has always been a little bit of a challenge in the marketplace, as it is not always a natural for people to think of the connection between Gamasutra and GDC. And so, you know, just to let you guys know confidentially, we are working on some plans for a rebranding of the site this year as well. So just with the name being more clarified and more directly connected to game development versus our more, you know, a vague name to some degree of Gamasutra. But specific to the audience here, I think we just wanted to really highlight, you know, this is a very involved audience that's going to run the gamut of those people who are, you know, really have been in the game development community or industry for a long time. So we have very senior level veteran folks who have been involved with game development throughout their career, as well as we have sort of your up and coming developers as well, people who are either students or new to the industry and are just starting their career. We offer a lot of different ways for them to jumpstart their careers, to provide information on how to elevate their career within the game industry, and provide insights for them throughout the year and throughout our platform. So across the board, the disciplines of our audience, range from game designers to engineers, all the way down to artists, animators, to students in universities and whatnot. And then in terms of the actual specific platforms, you can see sort of the area of focus, I think, which matches in many ways a lot of what we saw earlier with Jeremy, his presentation on his research as well. But we're definitely seeing an uptick in more on the mobile side of things. Obviously, consistently around PC and Mac has always been a very strong field. And then really keeping a close eye on our handheld console development as we proceed. The only other thing I really would want to highlight specific to the audience is our reach here in terms of being primarily, we're a nice mix of an international platform. So about 50% of it is North America based, USA and Canada. And then we really have been expanding greater and greater into our European markets, our APAC markets, as well as a few others. So the brand itself is definitely growing, which is nice. We have had a strong foothold in the industry for the last 25 plus years, and just continue to look to build off of that and actually elevate the brand even further.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Nick, for those further insights. And adding to that, I mean, as mentioned, as Sam already mentioned, you will receive all those slides post presentation. So I don't want to go through every digit. But what I want to outline here is on this next slide. On the next slide is, and I really want to make that you aware of that the scope of purchase involvement. Because that's usually what the question that we get a lot of times, like, well, do I reach the right decision makers? And if you look at the stats on the left-hand side, and where people are all involved in the decision-making process, and then see that people at over 42% mentioned that they're involved in the investment process. I think that's already a pretty good statement to make, that you do reach the people you want to reach with your message that you're posting out on Gamasutra in various ways. And to those various ways, I just want to blend into right now. As mentioned earlier, we looked at when now the COVID situation came in, and we've seen, like, okay, there are virtual events, but there has to be other ways and enhanced ways. And actually that was kind of like a feedback and the demand that we heard from our customers, who said, like, well, fine, now we don't have like a GDC event going on, but we have like great stories to tell, and we want to get leads, and I want to get in front of the audience. We really looked at our in-person products and the offerings that we had there, and thought, like, how can we transfer them to on the virtual world? And as you're all familiar with, or those of you being familiar with GDC, it's very content-centric, so is Gamasutra. And a lot of things is about the thought leadership process, where you have the ability to have like a sponsored talk. So that was like pretty much the first question that we got, like, how do I get my message out? How can I generate like leads? And so we launched, and we just launched it last year, and it's already very successful, like a lead generation products, like with webinars. And then we have like two options, and I don't want to get too much into the details, but there's like one option where you're in full control of the of the content, and you have it like kind of like a classroom style. So we said, like, okay, well, there's like a new product, we want to demonstrate and take it from there. Or you can even, we also have like an editorial product where we have like an editor talking about a topic, of course, in discussion in line with you, what you want to reach, and then have like more like a vendor neutral approach. So, and of course, you will receive all the contact details and all the leads to follow up on, which is like a great opportunity. Another thing which I just want to don't want to repeat for every product that I'm presenting now and every solution that we're offering is that you have to also consider that when looking at these options in a virtual world, like on Gamasutra, and I'm not especially not talking about like a virtual conference, like all these programs are exclusive for the time being. That meaning is a website like Gamasutra does not run like 2 or 3 webinars simultaneously. And there's like also a whole line of promotion to it to get like the awareness, and there's like a lot of marketing to it, and and communication on social media, which is all included, and which is like a turnkey package. So basically it's all included in this solution, and you kind of like deliver the content and you're good to go, and you're not like saying, okay, well, I have this session, like, which could happen at an in-person event or at a virtual event as well. It's like, okay, wow, I have like this great speaking opportunity, I have like this great slot. But at the same time, it happened a few years ago, Stadia, Google announces the launch of Stadia at the keynote speak. So that is like a tough competition, or it used to be a tough competition back in the day. Yeah, so that is just an example of a webinar to generate leads. Nick, if you could maybe give a little bit insights about like our native advertising solution.
Yes, by all means. I mean, and I think with all of these programs, whether it be our webinars, our editorial webinars, content syndication, it's about taking your mission, your message, and bringing it to our audience. And we're fully armed to do the marketing and outreach. We have great data on our audience in general. And in the last couple of I'd say in the last year, we've seen an incredible uptick with our webinars in general and the response rates. Whereas in the prior years, we might have gotten, anywhere between maybe, 50 or so registers. We're getting easily over 100, and the engagement is getting much more impactful. So continuing on that idea of these more lead gen type of opportunities, we do some other opportunities here to help highlight your products, services, or company in general. Some being a Q&A video interview is one of our primary opportunities, but wherein we have our editor-in-chief, Christian Graft, basically spend about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, or even more so with you. We pull in together all the videos, and we do a live video interview that we would put on the web, on Gamasutra. So it is a great, unique way to sort of almost have like a fireside chat type of opportunity. In addition, one of our most popular items is our sponsored articles. These are articles in which we take key sort of topics that you are looking to discuss or a mission that you're looking to highlight. You work closely with our editorial team just to make, what we always like to do is make sure these pieces are going to resonate. So we always try to help craft the pieces or the editorial pieces being a little, not too salesy, but more capturing a general feel or something that's a little more inclusive to everybody in the audience versus one specific segment. So we work very closely on these sponsored articles, but very intense program that provides a lot of great overall traction and gives a lot of leads as well for those pieces. In addition, the native content distribution is very similar, but basically more type of article distribution that blends into our actual native content. So it looks very much heavily like our own editorial, if you will, but we'll show a part of it that's called sponsored. So again, these are just more sort of in-depth ways in which we can work with you to bring these pieces to life that are beyond just banner advertising. These are more thought-provoking pieces and have been performing extremely well in the last 12 months by far.
Thank you, Nick. And 1 second. So as you just mentioned, the banner advertising, of course, that is also still possible. And we do have that option. We utilize them usually internally to promote like other marketing campaigns. But of course, it's free. We still offer, you're still able to also link to your website if you have like something that you want to promote or new tools coming out or new where you just want to drive traffic. So these opportunities are definitely still there. And as mentioned earlier, in the packages that we just outlined, they are usually either all of them or at least a few of these options are already included in helping promote and drive traffic to whatever item you're currently launched, and whatever helps you to get your message out and get you engaged in front of the community. Just as an example and just what companies have been doing, a quick case study of what Amazon did last year. And we're currently, I mean, fully aware not everybody is Amazon, but just to outline and show you that there's like, that usually companies run multiple channels to kind of like direct and to approach the community from different angles. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, over the course of 7 days in total, they had like more than 100,000 engagements with users, which I think is like pretty interesting and a good result. And that's just limited to the Gamasutra community. As we mentioned, I mean, there are ways more opportunities, and I'm happy to discuss later on with you, and please reach out. You'll find my contact details in the slides. If you have any questions, if you are wondering about the other possibilities, there are lots of opportunities. I don't want to miss the opportunity to also inform you about like upcoming events, which is now next week, our GDC Showcase event, which is a free to attend and all digital conference, which we launched and which we run kind of like in the spirit of that March is GDC time. And we were very, very sad and disappointed last year when we had to cancel it on a short notice for obvious reasons. And to play it safe, we were planning and hoping to host a hybrid event this summer in July in San Francisco, which we just also announced that it will also be only an all digital event, simply because of the reason, and that's also part of the latest development over the last year, as GDC has become more and more international. And even though it might be able, and from health and security standards within San Francisco to run an in-person event, we didn't feel comfortable in having people, having audience, exhibitors, attendees, partners flying out and maybe have to be quarantined before coming to the event or leaving the event. And so that's why we said like, well, okay, we'll take another round of a virtual event, which would be great, which we're currently planning on and finalizing. So the options, the exhibit options and sponsorship options will be released towards the end of this month. And we're already very excited how that's gonna be. And there are gonna be some cool features there as well. I can already tell that. And also a few sentences, because I've had that question over the last couple of weeks a few times, being as well, why didn't you look at a later date? And that is pretty much for two reasons. There are already a lot of conferences scheduled towards the end of this year. And as mentioned, we want to get rather sooner than later back to our March dates. And by moving the event from, let's say, July to September, October, we would be then too close to our March 22 date, which we plan to host GDC again in San Francisco as a hybrid event with an in-person part and also with the online part to serve the global community there as well. But we hope that traveling, I mean, we all do, that traveling to San Francisco will be able and allowed there again. Unless you don't have any further questions, thank you so much for spending the time with me and for listening to my presentation. And to Nick.
Thank you.
Right, thank you both very much, Luke and Nick, or Luke too. I don't know what we want to call you, but that's your name. Let's go for Nick. Thank you for that. That summary. Really interested. I mean, GDC is such an integral part of the video game calendar. You know, it makes perfect sense to move it back to March. That's your time. You know, that's GDC time in March, so it makes sense to get it back there. Interested in the sort of plans to make it a hybrid event next year. In March 22. That's quite an interesting move. I thought you might have been bolder and said we're going back to a physical event then, but I guess sometimes discretion is better.
Yeah, well, I'll say something. Sam, that is still in discussion right now. We are, as of right now, we were confident in having a hybrid event in July of this year, and then obviously made those decisions. If I had to really hedge my bets, I think March, we are very bullish that we are going to be back as we were in 2019. So that's how I would look at it. I think we just are right now covering our bets in case, God forbid, any other announcements come regarding the pandemic in general. But I honestly believe we will probably be a full in-person event. And if anything if there's anything that we've really learned in this last year and a half or a year, is really just the need though to have a hybrid event, or to be able to capture some of those virtual components. So how that works out exactly, it's something we are working on in real time. And we will have more announcements about March 2022 and what that will be really coming up very quickly. Right now, as Luke highlighted, we have our March showcase, our GDC showcase next week, which has gone very well so far. And we're excited with that. And then we are geared for GDC 20 this summer for July for our virtual event then. And so we do have a lot of momentum on that front. And we were really pleased, I got to be honest with you, being able to announce that we would not be flooring a show in July. I think it just, from a sake of clarity and not being too ambiguous, we wanted to just say, listen, this is not looking right. And a lot of the things that went into that were the decisions based on what kind of commitment levels we could get from our large support clients, if you will, of the event. In addition, it's the challenges that San Francisco in general presents itself. It is a little bit more logistically challenging. Northern California has been one of the main counties that has not opened up as quickly as others, and which is fine. But I guess I'm saying all this, Sam, in the light that if GDC had traditionally been in Las Vegas, or for that matter, maybe in Florida, there would be a likelihood we probably would have tried to floor the event as well, just because there is greater likelihood and freedom for those things to take place there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought process. The interesting thing from a UK perspective, is we use GDC as our #1 event for studios to come and do deals, to meet all of the publishers and platforms that they need to. It's such an important thing, and It's quite difficult to transition that into virtual activities. And to an extent, it's more of a level playing field in virtual, because it depends on the audience you can attract, and people are going to some virtual events or not to others, whereas you can guarantee they'll be there at GDC. Let's say you're a UK studio looking for a publishing partner. I know you've got your lead generation solutions. You have a really high number of investors and publisher people looking at your site regularly. What are the easy steps, or the easiest steps, that a small or medium-sized UK studio how can they engage with you to raise their profile and try and meet an investor or potential funder through your channels?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I think, beyond sort of the sales angles that we highlighted here, where you could really highlight your company and work with us on those type of opportunities that I did. We obviously have ways for you to engage with our editorial community as well, that we can follow up on in addition. I think for the smaller size studios, or the studios that are up and coming and whatnot, and are really looking to get their name out there, it is super challenging. And we also recognize the fact that, a lot of the virtual offerings that we have out there, because, there's only so many eyeballs and so many channels we can have, a lot of those opportunities are pricey, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. And so what I would say a lot of the times is, and what we're working on, is developing ways for up-and-coming studios or game companies, more cost-effective solutions that speak to their budget. So what I'm sort of alluding to in many ways is, I think what's so important is highlighting your studio, what you're bringing to the table, what you're working on, or what you're looking to do, being able to pontificate on that and highlight those things via our channels, whether that be through our virtual event platform, like our sponsored content angles, or complementing that with a virtual presence as well, and driving people there. The #1 thing we're seeing in the entire virtual universe is, you have to be able to tie content to your, if you're having a virtual booth. You want to tie it and drive people there. The stickiness that naturally came from being in person, people can naturally gravitate to. It takes a lot more effort really to make sure people are stringing along and following the message that you're looking to do. So where things like, you know, I am working feverishly right now to come up with more cost-effective solutions for these studios that can highlight things that we've done in the past. I mean, obviously, we have things like GDC Play, which is truly about up-and-coming studios and them trying to break into the industry. But how can we take these and sort of put it on steroids, if you will, to where they can get more amplification? So interestingly enough, we are working this week, actually, I have a call tomorrow to talk about that specific opportunity for these sized studios. So I will have more information, Sam, and what we'll do is we will share this directly with you and you can disseminate out to your teams and whatnot, but we will have more opportunities for studios to highlight themselves, to get their name out there, whether it be through Gamasutra or GDConf or through our virtual platforms.
When you're ready to do a profile on the UK and showcase some of our leading small and medium-sized businesses, I'm the man. And I will connect you to those studios. I think,
yes,
I know it's a slightly, you know, I'm selling back to you here slightly, but in fact, I think it might be an interesting strategy. If you look at the globalization of games and the way that different markets are approaching it in different ways, if there was a focus on different markets, I'd love to see what they're doing in El Salvador with Bill. I'd love to see what they're doing in Bolivia. All these countries we're not really aware of. I'd love to see what's going on. So when you're ready to talk about the UK, let us know and we'll make it happen for you.
You know, I think that's a spectacular idea. And sorry, Luke. And I think that's a spectacular idea. And it's something we are too very eager with, to be able to highlight every country pavilion country that what they're doing. Going on. We recently had tremendous success with Germany, where we did a whole highlight on the German pavilion, if you will, or on the companies that make up Colmesi and the German pavilion. So, but we are doing a lot more of that because we realize, there's a story to be told. There's reasons that we need to highlight this. And we will definitely, Yuki, just so you know, has always been one of our premium accounts and one we would obviously reach out to immediately. So you will be on the short list by far, my friend.
Luke, did you have any comments there?
Sorry, Luke, I just want to quickly just add one thing in with regards to your question about like small and mid-sized studios getting in front, reaching out to investors and publishers. In a virtual world, it is definitely, and I fully agree, it's more challenging. It is the experience that we've seen in the past, like our virtual event, and that's just what I want to share. And I think this is not just like an experience you will witness or that counts for a GDC virtual event, but like for, I think, pretty much all the virtual events, is that you have to change your mindset on how to approach when you're exhibiting. And as Nick said, it's like people, the attendees of a virtual event are there for the content. That's no doubt about that. So it's like really the challenge is like how to get engaged. And it is, and you also have to put yourself in the mindset that you're competing from the time-wise as an exhibitor to the content and to other exhibitors. So you really have to, and that's a big advantage of a virtual event. You can already start pre-event doing a lot of actions, take a lot of actions. You have like, which everybody's always asking about, like a full attendees list on an in-person event. Well, actually at a virtual event, you do have this full attendees list and you can already days before reaching out and targeting. And my recommendation is really, and our platform is set up like with an artificial intelligence systematic, where they say that, okay, you're looking for a certain profile of people and you get recommendations of, and so reach out, schedule these appointments. Also the experience, I'm brutally honest there, is not everybody will reply to your appointment, not everybody will show up, even though if they've accepted the appointment, but people and networking comes there. And that's kind of like the key takeaway that I had. Like we ran GDC Summer last year as a full virtual event, and that was what was setting successful exhibitors apart from people who said like, well, it wasn't really the successful. They said like, well, we had like real people canvassing the attendees list, reaching out, confirming, reconfirming, following up on, and they actually got their interactions. And they were, I had honestly, like as I'm covering like Europe, Middle East, and the Asian market, I had people who were so delighted, and who specifically asked for hopefully a virtual event only because they had like such a great ROI. I mean, the time investment and the costs with that if you compare a virtual event to like going there in person. I mean, you know it from the first place. It's not. It is tremendous. So and that's something what I really highly recommend doing. And as Nick said, contribute content. Also, in general, maybe from an in-person event or also a virtual event. Participate at a call for submissions. These are great opportunities. They cost a little bit of time. They cost a little bit of thoughts. But once accepted, it's also a great reference. If you've been like called up, it's actually something you can put in your resume. If you've been a speaker at GDC and you come into connection with other with people from the review board, with other speakers, and it's a great, great network opportunity. And so also use these items, and it's not just about, and these are not, I'm not talking about sponsored items, like these are just like contribute to the content, and also in a way position yourself as a thought leader within the industry.
That's a really nice positive note to end on. Some great advice there, Luke. Thank you very much for that. In fact, to all of our speakers today, Luke and Nick, Bill and Jeremy, and of course Dan from Creative England, integral part to make this happen. So really appreciate your support. But most of all, thank you to the attendees that have given up your time on this evening to come and listen to the talks. We will be sending you follow-up details, a link to the slides and also the recording, so that you can have a look at this at your own leisure, pick up some more of the insight. But do get in touch with Ukie. We're here to help you. We're here to create opportunities and networking opportunities for you to grow your business and meet these new markets. Don't forget, next week, we have an event on Tuesday in the morning, 9 o'clock, connecting to Chinese companies. We're going to hear about the latest trends in China, including looking at things like console and PC in China, which are often overlooked. So an interesting opportunity there. And on Thursday next week, a really good guide to getting into the ways to get into the Japanese market. As I said earlier, I feel like a market that's difficult. There are some barriers there, but there are plenty of companies doing it successfully, and they're coming to talk to you next Thursday. So go to the Ukie website and have a look at those and sign up for those events. They're always free. So thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening and hope to see you next week.